Thanks very much for taking your time, Teresa and Joanne, and it's an absolute pleasure to talk to you today about your special issue that has just come out for the Journal of Integrated Care. Maybe you could just introduce yourself briefly, please.
So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Teresa Burdett. I'm a principal academic at Bournemouth University, and I was the lead guest editor for this special issue.
Hi, I'm Dr. Joanne Inman. I'm a senior lecturer at Edge Hill University and also a programme director of Workforce Development Programme across Cheshire and Merseyside.
Fantastic, and it's really interesting to see your different roles. Actually, I mean, there are educational, academic roles, but also practice related roles. And I'm sure you brought different sort of expertise to producing a special issue. So let's talk about the special issue. Maybe I come to Teresa first. Teresa, tell us about what is really standing out in the work that you put together with Joanne there. You know, this special issue on person-centered care and care integration. It's a very topical issue, isn't it?
I mean, it certainly is. And I have to say that when I spoke to you 2 years ago now about this special issue, about the original idea, I felt it was a very topical idea then. And it's even more so now, especially considering world events. But the special issue itself, I think that each of the papers themselves have value. It's certainly an illuminating collection of papers, and I think that the papers themselves, they span different individual populations, different regions, including the nations of the UK and internationally. There's different disciplines have been represented and different modes of approach. So altogether, it's a very illuminating special issue, I think, that brings together lots of different approaches and lots of different people.
And that's really interesting that you managed to bring these different disciplines together and different perspectives. That's quite surprising as well. You know, person-centered care, after all, is very targeted on the person, isn't it? So you would expect more case studies, that sort of like studies, isn't it? Yeah, go on, Secretary.
So I think part of it is that it's because by reaching out to your networks and your colleagues, whether in the clinical arena, academic arena, reaching out to different types of individuals in the voluntary organisation and nationally and internationally, it's about creating papers to be submitted because people have been personally approached, whether face-to-face or primarily online in this instance, considering what was happening. And I think that helped a groundswell, and also advertising the special issue, the fact that the special issue was there. For instance, simply putting details about the special issue on every email you send out helps to publicise the special issue, and I think that was something we did right from the beginning and was really a good way of bringing in papers from different areas and different regions.
Fantastic. I'm going to come to Joanne. Joanne, something sparked your interest in this as well. It's person-centered care, and maybe there's a link to your professional background. What got you into this field, as it were, and then to co-edit that with Teresa?
Thanks, Axel. Yeah, my background is as an occupational therapist, and so really our core value is about enabling people to reach their own potential and enabling them to achieve what they want to achieve. So very much at the heart of that is person-centered approaches, and so this really spoke to me, this special issue, and as an associate editor of the journal, it was a great opportunity for me to do something within my real area of interest. And I learned masses from reading the papers that came to the journal, and I think some really key things that I was impressed by that came through in the papers was the amount of work that was going on to really listen and hear what patients' experiences were, what service users' experiences were, to then input that into developing even more person-centered services, but also from those providing care as well. So we're looking at that integration. How do we make person-centered integrated care a reality? So we had a number of papers that looked at that from from different perspectives, but also there's a really interesting paper from the US, which is about systems and processes. So how do we actually operationalize it? How do we make it happen in reality? And then other papers that really got down to the core concepts of what is person-centered care. The paper by Bevin et al., they really looked at that kind of international exchange in terms of disability leadership, and really kind of pushing that agenda forward in terms of making personalised care a reality. And I think I'd reiterate what Teresa said, that the range of papers from palliative services, voluntary mental health services, so acute thoracic services, this is something which is relevant across multiple disciplines, and really of international interest. So it was a real pleasure.
That's fantastic. And it's really that applicability of the papers to a whole range of disciplines, professional disciplines, and the professional relevance, really, that is so fascinating in this special issue. You joined forces to bring this about, this special issue, and it probably wasn't an easy feat. Tell us a bit about I come to Teresa first and then to Joanne. Joanne, of course, you have editorial experience, of course, but let's come to Teresa first, who really led on this special issue, put it together, and they called together and then launched it.
Yes, thanks, Axel. Yes, it was an original idea of mine, wasn't it, about 2 years ago. And I think the thing is, I would say that if you have an idea for a special issue, then just go for it. Approach the journal, because the journal and the team are very, very supportive, and really just, enjoy the process, although it is quite timely. I think things to think about is if you're going to be, we were very lucky and we had an absolutely stunning array of papers that were presented to us. We had more papers than we could put into the special issue, so we were in the lucky position of being able to move them into the regular issues. But I think perhaps top tips: don't underestimate the time required to engage with the authors and the team and read the papers, etc. So I would suggest that you set time aside, set time and goal focused objectives on a regular basis, whether that's every 2 or 3 days or whether that's once a week. I think it was fabulous because it was a real opportunity to forge new relationships, strengthen existing relationships with the individuals who submitted the papers, with the team, the editorial team, with yourselves, and particularly with Joanne, because obviously Joanne has, as you're aware, got fantastic editorial experience. I came from a position whereby I would have been a reviewer and had put forward the idea of this, but I didn't have the editorial experience. But I feel that I've learned absolutely loads, so it's been a great opportunity. I would say actually, take the time to actually enjoy the process itself, ask lots of questions, ask for support. I would say as well, don't afraid to be flexible. We actually extended the date of our submission deadline due to the world events and the pandemic, and actually that benefited the special issue significantly because they gave people additional time to submit. And I think do look forward to how you advertise. I've said this before, but make sure that you advertise your special issue in every opportunity so that you can get papers from across the board, and also then you have this ready readership. You actually have people emailing you to say, when's the special issue coming out, because I'm looking forward to reading it. And those are just some, I would say, just some top tips. But again, Joanne, I no doubt has got from her editorial experience, will have lots more. So I'm going to hand over to Joanne now.
Thanks, Teresa. I think I don't have loads to add to that. You've been very comprehensive there, which is great for me. I think one of the things I would say to people submitting papers to the journal is to think about what the remit of the journal is and the actual special issue title. So we did have a few papers that were really interesting. However, they didn't quite speak to what the special issue was about, what the essence of the journal was about, and so that's really important, especially with a special issue where you're trying to kind of pull a collection of papers together. I think in terms of lessons learned, sometimes doing a special issue, it's a little bit like being on a roller coaster. You know, there are really fun parts where it's going great, and then there are other parts where you're thinking, oh, will we get enough papers? Then you get loads, and then you're trying to kind of, I guess, get a good balance within the special issue, but also you really want to embrace all the papers that come in that are really topical and interesting and have got lots to add. I think the other thing from an associate editor perspective, the thing that we really appreciate is having reviewers who have got expertise in different areas of research and practice and education, so that we can call on those, and so people get those kind of authentic reviews really of their work. And I think a couple of times you and I had different opinions on papers, and so that in itself also brings out an interesting conversation, doesn't it? And that's that's those different perspectives on the world. So but really pleased with the end result, and a bit like the release sometimes when you get to the end of a roller coaster and you think, oh, that was fantastic, wasn't it? Get off and have a big ice cream or something. So
okay, fantastic. That's great. You mentioned roller coaster now twice, so you know it must be one of your preferences, one of your pastimes. So I hear this was a very, very positive, challenging, but also positive experience. And what I also hear, and interesting enough, is maybe it allowed you to develop your own networks and kind of like reach out to new colleagues and develop new contacts and links. That's fantastic. I've been absolutely delighted to have you work on this special issue. I think it's a real bumper issue, and it will hopefully make a real contribution to the field. So a big thanks to both of you, and I really look forward to working with you in the future as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.